Maya Donovan's fingers hovered over her laptop, hesitating, when a soft chime echoed through her apartment. Her heart skipped. She hadn't heard that sound in years, not since the night her life had fractured into pieces. She wasn't sure she could ever put back together. The notification was simple. An anonymous email, a single line that froze her blood. Some things left behind never stay buried. Maya's pulse quickened. Her mind raced with memories. She had tried so hard to suppress memories of Elliot Reeves. The man who had been her world, her anchor, and then vanished without a word. She had spent years rebuilding her life, trusting only herself, carving out a world where vulnerability didn't exist. And yet here it was, danger brushing against the edges of her carefully constructed walls, whispering that the past wasn't done with her. 3 years ago, the rooftop of a downtown building had felt like the entire world. Maya and Elliot had shared whispered promises, dreams of forever tangled between city lights. "I'll never leave you," he had said, voice low but steady. She had believed him. She had loved him with everything she had. Unaware that shadows were creeping into their lives, people watching, secrets forming, a betrayal waiting to strike. The next night, he was gone. No explanation. No warning. Just absence and the hollow ache of being abandoned by someone she had trusted completely. Now, standing in her dimly lit apartment, Maya couldn't decide if her trembling hands were from anger, fear, or a spark of hope she refused to admit. A knock at the door froze her mid-motion. Her pulse thundered in her ears. "Who?" she whispered. Before she could finish, the door creaked open, and there he was. Elliot Reeves. Older, worn, and carrying a gravity that matched the weight of years lost. His eyes met hers, a mixture of regret and something else, something she hadn't felt in a long time. Longing. "Maya," he said, voice low, careful. She stared, disbelief twisting into fury. "You disappeared," she said finally. Without a word, without a reason. "Do you have any idea what you did?" "I know," he admitted. "And I've spent every day trying to find a way to fix it. I had no choice. Not at the time. But I'm here now. And there's something you need to know." "Something dangerous?" Maya's chest tightened. "Dangerous? What are you talking about?" Elliot glanced over his shoulder, eyes scanning the darkened hallway outside. "Someone's been following you, watching you. And it's connected to us, to the people we trusted, and to the night I disappeared." Her stomach churned. Fear, anger, and unresolved love collided. Why come back now? "After all these years, because you deserve the truth," he said, voice steady but pained. "And because I can't protect you from the shadows unless you face them with me." The night Elliot disappeared, he had received warnings, cryptic messages, threats to the people closest to Maya, a network of powerful figures lurking in the city's darkest corners. He had tried to warn her, but any attempt to involve her openly would have put her in even greater danger. Leaving had been the only way he could protect her. And in his absence, every lie, every half-truth, had been a weapon used against her. Maya's mind raced as she struggled to digest his words. Anger surged, threatening to overwhelm her, but beneath it, a flicker of trust, buried deep under pain, refused to die. "Show me," she said finally. "Show me everything. I need to see it for myself." Elliot nodded, pulling out a small folder filled with documents, photographs, and encrypted messages. "This is only the beginning," he warned. "And once you see it, there's no turning back. The network isn't just a threat to you, it's a threat to everyone we care about. And they've been closer than we realized." Maya took a deep breath, bracing herself. She had spent years protecting her heart from heartbreak and betrayal. Now she was stepping into the storm she had feared, but also into the possibility of reclaiming what she had lost. Her heart thumped with adrenaline, fear, and the faint, fragile glimmer of hope. The past had returned uninvited, but this time she wasn't alone. "Then let's uncover it," she said, voice steady, eyes locked on Elliot. Together. Outside, the city sleeptor pretended too, but somewhere in the shadows, unseen eyes tracked their every move. The game had begun, and Maya Donovan realized She had a choice. Run from the past once more, or face it head on, reclaiming trust, courage, and perhaps even love. The first piece of the puzzle had fallen into place. The echoes of betrayal were stirring, and the fragments of trust shattered years ago were beginning to align. Maya Donovan was ready. The city's streets were quiet, but Maya Donovan didn't believe quiet. She had learned over the years that danger often hid behind the illusion of calm. Every flickering streetlight, every distant footstep, felt like a warning. Elliot Reeves walked beside her, his presence both comforting and infuriating. She wanted to lash out, to demand why he had abandoned her. But she also wanted answers, truths that could explain the void he left in her heart. "They've been watching you for months," Elliot said, voice low and urgent. "The network. It's bigger than I realized. And you stumbled into it long before I disappeared." Maya's stomach twisted. "Months, you're telling me? This whole time, I've been under surveillance. And no one warned me?" "I tried," he admitted, eyes scanning the alleys. "I had to vanish to protect you, to infiltrate their network. I couldn't risk you knowing the truth or worse, being hurt before you were ready." She shook her head, torn between anger and the lingering love she still felt. "You left me alone. And now I'm supposed to trust you again?" Elliot paused, his gaze softening. "I don't expect it right away. But trust isn't given, it's rebuilt. And we don't have time. They're closer than ever. Someone inside your circle has been feeding them information. And if we don't act, it won't just be your life at risk, it'll be everyone you care about." The night of Elliot's disappearance 3 years ago, threats had come through whispers. Anonymous messages and subtle manipulations. Elliot had realized the danger too late to protect both Maya and himself openly. Leaving had been his only option, an unbearable decision that had haunted him every day since. Now, standing in the shadows of a quiet city street, the weight of that choice hung between them. They ducked into a small, abandoned cafe Elliot had once used as a safe house. Dust motes floated in the air as he laid out a series of photographs and documents. Surveillance photos showed people, Maya, trusted colleagues, neighbors, even a friend from college meeting with shadowy figures in the dead of night. Maya's breath caught. "They've infiltrated my life, everyone I trusted." "Exactly. And that's why we need Detective Serena Kane. She's been investigating the network for years and can help us identify who's compromised and how deep this goes." Maya's heart pounded. "So even you couldn't stop them from getting to me?" "Not alone," Elliot admitted. "But together, we have a chance." Maya's mind flickered back to her final moments with Elliot before he disappeared. The promises, the laughter, the trust. She had thought love would protect them from anything. But love alone hadn't been enough. "I don't know if I can forgive you," she whispered, eyes tearing. "Not yet. You don't have to forgive me right now," he said softly. "Just let me help you survive. Then we'll figure out the rest. Together." Maya hesitated, but the spark of trust she still held deep inside, the same spark that had once made her vulnerable to him, forced her to nod. "Together," she said. The night deepened as they retraced Maya's steps over the past months, uncovering strange occurrences she had dismissed, emails that disappeared, phone calls with static. Objects slightly moved in her apartment. "Everything points to someone inside your circle," Elliot said, voice grim. "And they're clever, patient. They know how to push your buttons to manipulate fear." Maya's hands clenched. "So the network isn't just external. It's inside my life. Someone close to me is a traitor." "Yes," Elliot confirmed. "And we need to identify them before they strike again. Because next time, it might not just be a warning." They examined another photograph. A shadow moved outside the cafe window. They froze, hearts pounding. A figure in a hooded jacket lingered across the street, watching. "They're here," Elliot whispered. "And they've been watching us even now." As pulse surged. Fear mixed with adrenaline, anger, and a strange flicker of hope. For the first time in years, she wasn't facing this alone. "We'll need to be smart," Elliot continued. "Move fast, and trust only what we see and know for certain." Maya nodded, gripping a small flashlight as if it were a lifeline. I won't let them control me anymore. Not my life, not my future. Elliot reached out, holding her hand briefly, silent acknowledgement of the bond still alive between them. Fragile, but undeniable. Then we begin, he said. The network is smart, but we're smarter. And together, we're stronger than they'll ever anticipate. As the city slept, unaware of the storm brewing in its alleys, Maya Donovan realized something profound. The past had returned. Shadows were closing in, and danger lurked in every corner. But she also realized that facing it, with Elliot by her side, gave her something she hadn't felt in years: hope. The whispers in the shadows weren't just threats, they were challenges, and Maya Donovan was ready to answer them. The night was heavy with fog, the city streets empty, yet alive with unseen eyes. Maya Donovan and Elliot Reeves crouched behind a dumpster, scanning the darkened alley that led to an abandoned warehouse, their first lead on the network's inner circle. They're expecting someone, Elliot whispered, voice tense. But not us. We have the element of surprise. If we move carefully, Maya's heart raced. Fear surged, but alongside it, determination, years of betrayal, heartbreak, and solitude had forged a resolve she could no longer ignore. Let's finish what we started, she said, gripping a flashlight as if it were a weapon. Flashback, the night Elliot disappeared. The memory of that rooftop confrontation returned vividly. He had warned her of danger she couldn't see, urged her to leave, to survive alone. But she hadn't understood. She hadn't believed. And in leaving, he had carried the weight of both their fates, protecting her in silence, while breaking her heart. Now, standing in the shadows of a city that had almost consumed them, Maya understood the depth of his sacrifice, and the price of trust betrayed. They approached the warehouse entrance, rusted metal, groaning under the weight of decades. A single window revealed movement inside, shadows shifting, figures pacing, whispers barely audible over the hum of electricity. Elliot signaled Maya to stay low. 3 inside. To guarding the rear, they're armed and dangerous. We'll need precision. And speed. Maya's fingers tightened around the crowbar she carried not for show, but as a symbol of her readiness to fight for survival. For truth, and for the heart she had almost lost. The moment they entered, alarms didn't blare but something worse. Silence thick with menace. Footsteps echoed in perfect synchronization, approaching from both ends. Maya froze, adrenaline sharpening every sense. Suddenly, one of the operatives lunged from the shadows. Maya sidestepped, using her momentum to shove him into a stack of crates. Another swung at Elliot, but he ducked and countered with precise force, knocking the man unconscious. You've changed, Elliot said, glancing at Maya mid-fight. Stronger, smarter, faster than I remembered? Maya gave a small, grim smile. You taught me well, she replied, dodging another swing from a masked attacker. As they fought, Maya recalled the first time she and Elliot had taken on threats together, back when they were young. Reckless and in love. The memory of that trust, the way they moved in sync, instinctively protecting each other, surfaced, fueling her courage now. Together, they moved like a single entity. Elliot neutralized the threat at the front, while Maya and Caleboo had joined unexpectedly. Having followed her instincts, secured the rear exit, every strike, every dodge, every action was powered by trust rebuilt in the fire of past betrayals. Just as they thought the immediate threat was neutralized. Maya's phone buzzed, a message flashing across the screen. You think you've won this round? But the game has only begun. Her stomach tightened. Someone inside the network was orchestrating these strikes, anticipating their every move. The message wasn't just a threat. It was a revelation. The network wasn't reacting blindly. They had insider knowledge. Someone close to Maya had been feeding them information all along. Elliot noticed her pallor. Maya, you're right. This isn't just about brute force. They're watching, predicting. That means there's a traitor, someone inside your circle, someone we trusted. Maya swallowed hard, jaw tight. So the real fight isn't even here yet. They exited the warehouse, rain beginning to drizzle, washing away the metallic tang of adrenaline and fear. The city seemed unaware of the battle that had just occurred, a battle that had tested their bodies, minds, and hearts. Caleb shook his head, catching his breath. That was too close. Way too close. Maya's chest still throbbed from the adrenaline, but her eyes burned with clarity. Too close to be scared. Too close to be helpless. But we survived. Together, and next time, we'll know who we're really fighting. Elliot reached for her hand, fingers brushing against hers. You've grown stronger, he said softly. And this is only the beginning. Whatever comes next, we face it together. And nothing will break us again. Maya nodded, gripping his hand with equal determination. For the first time in years, the fear of betrayal was tempered with the strength of renewed trust. High above the city, in a dimly lit surveillance room, a hooded figure watched them through multiple screens. The traitor had been revealed, but the network had deeper layers yet, and the real plan had yet to be set in motion. A single, chilling phrase echoed in Maya's mind, as if whispered from the shadows themselves. The pieces are moving, and you'll never see the final play coming. Maya Donovan's heartbeat thundered. The first strike had been survived, but the war and the test of trust was only beginning. Maya Donovan didn't sleep that night. Her mind replayed every second inside the warehouse, the shadows, the whispered orders, the realization that someone had been one step ahead of them the whole time. The message on her phone still glowed in her thoughts. You think you've won this round? But the game has only begun. She sat by her apartment window, watching the city lights flicker across the glass. The skyline looked peaceful, but she knew better now. Peace was an illusion. Someone had been walking through her life with quiet footsteps, rearranging her fate without her consent. A soft knock interrupted her thoughts. Elliot stepped into the dim light, concern etched across his face. You haven't rested, he said gently. Maya shook her head. How can I sleep when everything around me feels like a puzzle with missing pieces? I keep wondering who knew enough about me to stay hidden. Elliot didn't answer immediately. Instead, he sat across from her and opened a folder he'd brought, a file marked by years of wear. I've been tracking this network since before I disappeared, he said. They target people who stand too close to the truth. You got too close, without realizing it. Maya's breath caught. What truth? Elliot sighed, rubbing his temples. There's a list names of people who've been used, manipulated, or silenced. Someone you know is on that list. Someone who's been working with them. Cold chills raced down Maya's spine. Who? Detective Serena Kane wants to go over it with us, Elliot said. She's been following your work for years. She thinks you're reporting accidentally connected threads the network wanted to keep buried. Maya blinked slowly. So, they aren't just after me because of you? No, Elliot said quietly. They're after you because you're smart enough to expose them. And because someone close to you has been giving them your movements. Her heart clenched. Betrayal didn't just sting, it tore open old wounds. Later that afternoon, the police precinct buzzed with quiet intensity as Detective Serena Kane entered the conference room. Tall, sharp-eyed, and grounded in her presence. She carried herself like someone who had been surviving a war the city didn't know about. Maya Donovan, she said warmly. I've been waiting to meet you. Not exactly the circumstances I wanted, Maya replied, trying to steady her voice. Serena laid a stack of documents on the table. This network has been weaving itself through the city for years. Elliot infiltrated them. You, unknowingly, traced some of their financial patterns in your investigative work. Maya frowned, but I abandoned that article. My editor said it was too messy. Serena leaned forward, which is exactly why they targeted your circle. They needed to know how much you uncovered and how much you could still expose. Maya swallowed hard. So someone I trust helped them track me? Serena nodded. We've narrowed it to 3 people. Elliot slid a page toward her with 3 familiar names. Her breath caught in her throat. Her coworker, her friend from college, and Caleb. Caleb. Maya whispered, voice splintering. No, he would never. He's my brother. Serena raised her hands gently. We're not saying he's guilty, but patterns show someone close has been unintentionally supplying information. Maybe through hacked devices. Maybe through someone using their access. Maybe through manipulation. Maya sat back, clutching her chest. My own home. My own life. All of this could have been used against me without me knowing. Elliot's voice softened. This is why I didn't want you involved back then. They infiltrate everything. They turn trust into leverage. Maya closed her eyes for a long moment. Pain, confusion, fear. Everything swirled like a storm she could barely contain. Then she exhaled deeply. No, I'm done being afraid. Serena nodded approvingly. Good, because we're going to set a trap. Maya's eyes opened sharply. A trap? For the insider, Serena explained. We create a false lead with specific details only given to the 3 possible suspects. Whichever detail reaches the network first leads us to the one feeding them information. Maya's pulse quickened. And what happens after? We corner them, Serena said, and uncover why they did it. Some work willingly. Others are victims of pressure. Either way, we find the truth. Maya hesitated. What if the truth hurts more than the lie? Serena's expression softened, but her voice remained firm. Truth always hurts before it heals. Later that evening, Maya gathered the emotional strength she didn't know she still had. She crafted 3 separate messages each, containing a different, fabricated detail about her next supposed move. One went to her coworker, one to her old college friend, and one to Caleb, standing in her apartment. She stared at the screen before pressing send, her heart trembling with hope and dread. Elliot stood quietly behind her. Whatever happens, he said softly. I'm here. We'll handle it together. You don't have to break alone this time. Maya didn't look at him because if she did, she knew her resolve might collapse into the years of grief she'd kept buried. Instead, she whispered, I want the truth. All of it. Hours later, at 11:14 p.m., Maya's phone lit up. A notification. A location ping. The fabricated detail had been leaked. And the person who leaked it was someone she had loved with her entire heart. Her knees weakened. Her breath faltered. Elliot, she whispered shakily, holding out the phone. He looked at the screen. His expression dark in shock, sorrow, and fury twisting together. It's them, he said quietly. We found the insider. Maya's heart cracked, because the name on the screen was one she never expected to see. Not in a million years. The notification on Maya's phone pulsed like a heartbeat she didn't want to hear. Elliot stepped closer. Maya, you need to sit down. She couldn't. Her entire body went numb as she stared at the screen, her fingers barely steady enough to hold the phone. Her breath caught in her throat, shallow, rapid, unsteady. The message had revealed the insider, but the truth was worse than a single betrayal. 2 names were tied to the leak. Jenna Hart. Caleb Donovan. Her brother. Her closest friend? Her legs suddenly weakened beneath her, and she stumbled back, bracing herself against the edge of the table. A wave of dizziness washed over her. Her chest tightened as if all the air had left the room. No, she whispered, voice cracking. No, this can't. This can't be right. Elliot moved to steady her, but she shook her head, tears streaming down her face. I trusted them, she choked out. Aaliyah, I trusted them with everything. Her voice broke on the word everything, shattering into pieces she couldn't gather. He stepped back, giving her space. He knew she needed space to fall apart. Hours earlier, the trap had been set. Each person received a different false detail. But only 2 details ended up resurfacing in the network's channels too, not 1. Which meant both had leaked something, though the reasons behind it were still unclear. Take a breath, Maya, Elliot said softly. But she couldn't. Her breathing grew faster, shallow, like her lungs were rejecting air. Her hands trembled uncontrollably. Detective Serena Kane stepped toward her, voice calm, grounding. Maya, listen to me. This doesn't mean they intended to hurt you, but we need to hear them out. There's a difference between malice and manipulation. Maya pressed a shaking hand to her forehead. Her ears rang. Her vision blurred. I don't know how to face this, she whispered, collapsing onto the nearest chair. Tears fell freely, silently, in a stream she couldn't control. My brother? Jenna? Serena, how am I supposed to breathe through that? Serena crouched in front of her. Together. You breathe through it together. Maya shook her head violently, tears splashing onto her jeans. I can't do this. I can't. How do you face betrayal from people who should have protected you? Elliot's throat tightened at her pain. He had broken her once. Seeing others break her again twisted something in him. Maya, he whispered, we'll get the truth. No assumptions. No accusations. Just honesty. But honesty was the very thing that had been stolen from her. Later that evening, Jenna arrived first. She walked into the room with trembling hands and tear-stained eyes, looking smaller than Maya had ever seen her. Maya, Jenna said in a broken whisper, please believe me. Never meant to hurt you. Maya flinched at the sound of her voice. Her tears returned immediately. Her breath shook. Elliot remained beside her, but silent. Serena folded her arms. Tell her what happened. Jenna's lips quivered. I was seeing someone. A new guy. He said he admired my confidence, my loyalty to my friends. He asked about you once or twice, just casually. I didn't think anything of it. I swear I didn't. Maya buried her face in her hands. Jenna continued, voice trembling. Then he started asking more questions. About your work. Your schedule. I thought he was just trying to understand your world. I never imagined, Maya. I never imagined he was connected to something dangerous. Her sobs filled the room. I told him things, and I didn't know he was passing them on. Us. Maya's heart cracked again. The betrayal wasn't intentional, which somehow hurt even more. Jenna, why didn't you tell me sooner? Maya whispered. Jenna collapsed into a chair, shaking. I didn't know until Detective Kane contacted me yesterday. I was manipulated, Maya, used. Maya closed her eyes. Fresh tears fell, but nothing prepared her for the second blow. The door opened again. Caleb stepped inside. Her brother. Her protector. Her only family left. He looked devastated, Maya. He whispered, eyes red. I'm so sorry. Her breathing faltered again. Her chest tightened painfully. Why? She managed to whisper. Her voice was raw, hurting. Wounded, Caleb's chin trembled. I got a message months ago. Someone threatened me. They said they'd hurt you if I didn't answer a few questions. I thought they were bluffing, but then they sent me a picture of you leaving work. A picture taken without you knowing. Maya's stomach twisted so sharply she pressed a hand over it. Caleb continued, tears spilling down his face. I swear, Maya, I never told them anything I thought would harm you. I only told them things I thought were harmless. What days you worked from home, when you usually visited Mom's gravesite, basic things. Maya sobbed so hard she couldn't speak. Caleb stepped closer, desperate. I was trying to protect you, Maya. They said they'd make you disappear if I didn't cooperate. I thought keeping you alive meant giving them harmless information. I never knew they were planning anything bigger. Maya shook uncontrollably, shoulders heaving. Her entire world felt like it had split open at the seams. You should have told me, she whispered. You should have trusted me enough to tell Caleb. I would have protected you too. Caleb collapsed to his knees in front of her, crying into his hands. I thought I was protecting you. Maya covered her face, sobbing harder than she had in years, sobs that tore through her chest, leaving her breathless, shaking, undone. Elliot knelt beside her, placing a steady hand over hers. Maya, he whispered, you're not alone. Not anymore. But she felt shattered, broken in every corner of her heart, loved by people who hurt her, hurt by people who loved her. And the worst part, she didn't know if she had the strength to forgive. Not yet. For the first time in days, the room was silent. No crying, no accusations, no explanations. Just silence. Maya sat between Elliot and Detective Serena Kane, her hands clasped so tightly that her knuckles ached. Her eyes were swollen, her throat sore, her spirit exhausted. Across from her sat Jenna, and Caleb broken, remorseful, waiting for her to speak. But Maya couldn't yet. Not until she understood everything. Serena placed a folder on the table and exhaled. "Maya," she said gently, "before you decide how to move forward, you need the full truth. All of it." Maya braced herself. Serena opened the folder. The man Jenna was seeing. The same person who threatened Caleb. His real name is Adrian Kessler. And he's not just a random manipulator. Elliot leaned forward. "He's the architect," Serena continued softly. "The one who's been orchestrating the information leak and the surveillance on you." Maya stiffened. She felt sick, used, hunted, but she forced herself to listen. Serena slid a photograph across the table. A man with dark, unreadable eyes. A slight smile. A face that carried secrets. "He targeted Jenna because he knew she was loyal to you. He targeted Caleb because he knew you loved him. And he used both deliberately to get close." Maya's hands trembled, but she kept them steady on the table. "So they didn't betray me," she said in a fragile whisper. "They were manipulated." "Exploited," Serena corrected gently. "Coerced. They made mistakes, but under pressure most people couldn't withstand." Maya blinked rapidly as her eyes filled again. Caleb swallowed hard. Jenna dropped her head into her shaking hands. Elliot turned to Maya, voice low. "You didn't lose them, Maya. They were taken advantage of." "That's different." She inhaled a deep, shaky breath that somehow gave her strength. "Where is he now?" Maya asked Serena. "Gone," Serena replied. "But his network is collapsing. And now that we understand how it operated, we can dismantle everything he left behind." "You're no longer a target." Maya closed her eyes. A weight she had carried without knowing suddenly lifted slowly, painfully, but undeniably. Maya finally looked up at Jenna. Her voice cracked, but she didn't hide from it. "You hurt me. Maybe you didn't mean to, but you did." Jenna nodded through tears. "I know, and I'll regret it for the rest of my life." Maya turned to Caleb. "And you? You scared me more than anyone else ever has." Caleb looked shattered. "Maya, I swear if I could take it back. She held up a hand. "Stop. Just let me speak." Silence. Maya sat straighter, her spine trembling with the weight of her decision. "I can't forgive you today. I can't pretend nothing happened. I can't erase the fear or the heartbreak, the feeling that the people I loved most didn't trust me enough to tell me the truth." Caleb broke down again. Jenna covered her mouth to muffle a sob. Maya's voice softened, not with weakness, but with truth. "But I know you didn't betray me out of malice. And I know you're both victims too. So I'm choosing," she exhaled, voice shaking, "to leave the door open." Jenna gasped. Caleb looked up with red, disbelieving eyes. "Not forgiveness," Maya clarified. "Not yet. But the chance for us to rebuild, slowly, carefully, honestly, if you're willing." They nodded through tears, frantic, grateful nods that carried every unspoken apology. Later, when Caleb and Jenna left with Serena, Elliot stayed. He watched her quietly as she sat on the edge of the sofa, staring at her hands. "You didn't say much," she whispered, not looking at him. "You didn't need me to," he replied. "You needed truth, and space, and strength." She looked up, meeting his eyes. "Elliot, you've hurt me too," he nodded. Pain flickered across his face. "No. And not a day goes by that I don't replay it," Maya swallowed. "Then why are you still here?" Elliot stepped closer. "Because I made you a promise the day I walked back into your life. I said I wouldn't run again. I said I'd stay even when things got hard. Even when you pushed me away. Even when you had every right to." Maya looked down, tears forming again. "You don't owe me anything," she whispered. "No," he said softly, "but I owe myself the chance to make it right." Her breath hitched. "Maya," Elliot's voice trembled. "You don't have to choose me. You don't have to trust me. But I'm here. Not because you need me, but because I want to be the kind of man who deserves you." She closed her eyes as a single tear slid down her cheek. His sincerity broke through walls she thought she'd rebuilt. Slowly, very slowly, Maya reached out her hand. Elliot took it in both of his, as if it were fragile glass. No kiss, no promises. Just a connection. Fragile. Real. Hopeful. "I can't give you everything yet," she whispered, "but I can give you this." "A beginning," Elliot's voice cracked. "That's more than enough." The final moment days later, Maya stood alone on the balcony at sunset. The sky glowed in shades of gold, rose, lavender, like the world itself was trying to comfort her. She closed her eyes, breathed deeply, and for the first time in months, the air didn't hurt. She was bruised, but not broken. Shaken, but not destroyed. Betrayed, but not alone. Behind her, the door slid open. "Maya," Elliot's voice was gentle. She turned. He held 2 cups of tea, steam rising in soft swirls. She smiled, small, tired, but real. "Stay?" she asked. "Always," he said. And as the last light of day slipped into night, Maya finally felt something she thought she'd lost forever.